Hollywood peaked in the 1970s and has been lying to you ever since. That every modern action movie with its billion-dollar CGI budget can't hold a candle to what a bunch of crazy stuntmen did with real cars, real crashes, and zero safety nets 50 years ago. Today we're diving deep into the golden age of cinema, when directors had brass balls, stunt drivers had death wishes, and every car chase was a legitimate attempt at vehicular homicide. We're talking about an era when safety first meant making sure the camera was rolling before you launched a Dodge Charger off a cliff. Forget your Fast and Furious franchise. Forget Marvel's computer-generated nonsense. We're going back to when movies were made by madmen who thought the best special effect was a real explosion and the best stunt double was no stunt double at all. Buckle up, because we're about to explore why the 1970s produced the most insane, death-defying, absolutely bonkers action sequences ever captured on film, and why Hollywood will never, ever have the guts to make movies like this again. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or should I say, the flaming Pontiac Trans Am flying through the air. The fundamental difference between 70s action and today's sanitized Hollywood garbage comes down to one simple fact. Back then, if you saw it on screen, it actually happened. When Steve McQueen's Mustang went airborne over those San Francisco hills in Bullitt, that was a real car, real driver, real gravity, and real consequences. No green screen, no digital enhancement, no safety coordinator having a panic attack every 5 minutes. Just pure, unadulterated automotive mayhem. Compare that to today's Fast and Furious movies, where Vin Diesel apparently has superpowers and cars can fly between skyscrapers. It's not just unrealistic, it's insulting to your intelligence. The 70s didn't need to make cars defy physics because real physics were already spectacular enough. These directors understood something that modern Hollywood has completely forgotten. Authenticity creates emotional investment. When you know that stunt driver is actually risking his neck for your entertainment, every near miss becomes a heart-stopping moment. Every crash carries real weight because real metal is getting twisted and real people are walking away with real bruises. The 70s were populated by a breed of filmmaker that simply doesn't exist anymore. The cinematic outlaw. These weren't corporate yes men worried about focus groups and market research. These were rebels who would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. And sometimes they didn't even bother with the forgiveness part. Take William Friedkin, the madman behind the French Connection. This guy literally bribed a transit official with 40 grand and a one-way ticket to Jamaica just to get access to subway tracks. Then he strapped a camera to the back of a speeding car and tore through Brooklyn traffic at 90 miles per hour, without permits, without permission, and definitely without insurance company approval. Or consider H.B. Halicki, the absolute lunatic who made Gone in 60 seconds. This wasn't some studio production. This was one man's obsession with automotive destruction. He wrecked 93 cars, broke his own back during filming, and came back days later to finish the scene. The man literally credited a car as a lead actor in his movie, and somehow that made perfect sense. These directors didn't have studio executives breathing down their necks, demanding safer alternatives and cheaper solutions. They had a vision, a camera, and an alarming disregard for personal safety. The result? Pure cinematic gold that modern Hollywood couldn't recreate if they tried. Let's talk hardware. The 70s were the golden age of American muscle, and these movies showcased iron when it actually had soul. We're talking about 440 Magnums, 455 Super Duties, and big block V8 engines that could wake the dead 3 counties over. These weren't computer-generated vehicles or carefully preserved museum pieces. These were working machines built for punishment. When you see that white Dodge Challenger screaming across the desert in Vanishing Point, that's a real 375 horsepower beast drinking gasoline and spitting fire. When the Bandit's Trans Am launches over that bridge in Smokey and the Bandit, that's genuine Pontiac engineering meeting, genuine gravity with predictably destructive results. The production companies would buy multiple identical vehicles knowing full well they were going to destroy every single one. 4 Trans Ams for Smokey and the Bandit. 3 got totaled. 5 Dodge Challengers for Vanishing Point, all sacrificed for the cause. This wasn't waste. This was commitment to the craft. Modern movies use one hero car for close-ups and CGI for everything else. Back then, if the script called for a car to explode, they found a car and exploded it. If it needed to flip end over end, they built a ramp and sent it flying. The destruction was real, the danger was real, and the results were absolutely spectacular. Behind every great 70s car chase was a stuntman with a death wish and the skills to back it up. These weren't actors playing tough guys. These were legitimate badasses who made their living defying death at 100 miles per hour. Bill Hickman was the king of this dangerous breed. This guy drove for Bullitt, The French Connection, and the 7-Ups. He didn't just perform stunts. He choreographed automotive ballet at lethal speeds. When you see that Pontiac Grandville slam into a truck and launch its roof into orbit in the 7-Ups, that's Hickman behind the wheel, treating physics like a personal challenge. Then there's Hal Needham, who went from stuntman to director and never lost his appetite for destruction. The man literally dove into a river to save his own stunt when it went wrong during White Lightning. Later, he directed Smokey and the Bandit and proved that the best way to film car chases was to have actually lived through a few dozen of them. These guys didn't have computer simulations or safety coordinators running calculations. They had experience, instinct, and an alarming willingness to find out what happened when you pushed machinery beyond its limits. They were part mechanic, part daredevil, and completely insane. Exactly what great action movies required. The 70s pioneered a style of filmmaking that would give modern insurance companies collective heart attacks. Guerrilla cinema. These directors didn't wait for permits, didn't ask for permission, and definitely didn't worry about liability lawsuits. The French Connection chase wasn't filmed on a closed set with carefully controlled conditions. Friedkin literally drove through real Brooklyn traffic with real pedestrians who had no idea they were about to become unwilling extras in cinema history. When that Pontiac Le Mans crashes into a civilian vehicle, that's not a planned stunt. That's a real accident that was so perfect. They kept it in the movie. George Miller took this approach to the extreme with Mad Max. Shot on a shoestring budget across rural Australia, the film's car chases were executed with no permits and often no closed roads. They were literally racing through public highways at speeds that would make modern safety coordinators quit their jobs and become accountants. This wasn't reckless filmmaking. It was fearless filmmaking. These directors understood that great art requires great risks, and they were willing to put their money, their careers, and occasionally their vertebrae where their vision was. The result was a raw, visceral authenticity that no amount of CGI can replicate. Here's something modern. Hollywood doesn't understand. Audiences can sense authenticity. When you're watching a real stunt driver thread a needle between 2 trucks at 80 miles per hour, your brain processes that differently than when you're watching a computer-generated car do impossible things in a digital environment. The 70s tapped into something primal, the vicarious thrill of witnessing genuine danger. When Ryan O'Neal demolishes that Mercedes and the driver, systematically destroying a beautiful machine with surgical precision, you feel every impact because you know that's real metal getting real damage. Your nervous system responds to authentic destruction in ways that CGI simply cannot trigger. This psychological authenticity extended beyond just the stunts. These movies understood that cars weren't just transportation. They were extensions of character, symbols of freedom, rebellion, and American identity. The Bandit's Trans Am wasn't just a getaway vehicle. It was a middle finger to authority wrapped in black and gold. Kowalski's Challenger and Vanishing Point wasn't just fast. It was a bullet aimed at the heart of conformity. Modern action movies treat cars like video game power-ups, interchangeable tools that exist only to facilitate the next impossible sequence. The 70s treated cars like characters, with personalities, limitations, and the capacity for both triumph and destruction. So what killed this golden age of automotive mayhem? The same thing that kills most great art: lawyers, insurance companies, and the gradual corporate takeover of creative risk-taking. Modern Hollywood operates under a completely different philosophy. Every stunt is pre-visualized, computer-modeled, and safety-tested until all the danger, and most of the excitement, has been engineered out of it. Today's action directors don't ask, "How can we make this more spectacular?" They ask, "How can we make this safer and cheaper?" The result is the sanitized, focus-grouped, committee-approved action sequences we see today. Cars that can survive nuclear explosions, drivers who walk away from crashes that should have turned them into hamburger, and physics that work however the plot demands. It's not just unrealistic, it's boring. CGI promised to make the impossible possible, but it also made the possible feel impossible. When everything is fake, nothing feels real. When every stunt is digitally enhanced, no stunt feels dangerous. The technology that was supposed to enhance storytelling has actually diminished it by removing the human element. The knowledge that real people were really risking real consequences for your entertainment. The 70s proved that limitations breed creativity. When you can't just fix it in post-production, you have to get it right in camera. When you can't rely on digital safety nets, you have to plan better, drive better, and accept that sometimes the best take is the one where everything goes slightly wrong. The influence of 70s car chases extends far beyond cinema. These movies didn't just entertain, they shaped American car culture, influenced automotive design, and created icons that still resonate today. The Pontiac Trans Am's sales exploded after Smokey and the Bandit. Dodge couldn't keep Challengers on dealer lots after Vanishing Point. Ford Mustangs became synonymous with cool thanks to Bullitt. These weren't just product placements, they were cultural phenomena that turned specific cars into symbols of rebellion, freedom, and American automotive supremacy. But the impact went deeper than sales figures. These movies captured a specific moment in American history, when the open road represented unlimited possibility, when a fast car and a full tank of gas could solve any problem, and when the individual could still outrun the system, at least until the gas ran out. The 70s car chase became a metaphor for the American spirit itself. Fast, dangerous, slightly out of control, but absolutely committed to the journey. These weren't just entertainment. They were cultural documents that preserved a way of thinking about freedom, risk, and the relationship between man and machine. Today's action movies have lost this cultural resonance. They're spectacles without soul, impressive, but not inspiring. They show us what computers can imagine, but they don't capture what humans can achieve when they're willing to risk everything for the perfect shot. The brutal truth is that Hollywood will never again produce car chases like the 70s, and it's not just because of safety regulations or insurance costs. It's because the entire industry has fundamentally changed its relationship with risk, authenticity, and artistic vision. Modern movie studios are publicly traded corporations, answerable to shareholders who care more about quarterly profits than cinematic legacy. Every decision is filtered through focus groups, market research, and risk assessment algorithms. The kind of director who would bribe a transit official and tear through Brooklyn traffic without permits wouldn't make it past the first studio meeting today. The legal environment has also changed dramatically. The lawsuits that would result from filming The French Connection today would bankrupt a studio. The insurance requirements alone would make these productions financially impossible. We've traded artistic freedom for legal protection, and the art has suffered accordingly. But perhaps most importantly, audiences have changed. We've been conditioned to accept digital spectacle over authentic danger. We've become comfortable with the knowledge that everything we're seeing is fake, safe, and carefully controlled. We've lost our appetite for genuine risk and our appreciation for the craftsmanship required to capture real danger on film. The 70s represented a perfect storm of creative freedom, technological limitation, and cultural appetite for authentic danger that will never be replicated. Those movies weren't just products of their time. They were products of a mindset that no longer exists in Hollywood. So there you have it, the untold truth about why the 1970s produced the greatest car chases in cinema history, and why modern Hollywood will never have the guts to match them. These weren't just action sequences, they were statements of artistic intent. They declared that great entertainment requires great risks, that authentic thrills demand authentic danger, and that the best special effect is no special effect at all. The directors, stuntmen, and actors of the 70s understood something that modern Hollywood has forgotten. Audiences crave authenticity. We want to believe that what we're seeing is real, that the people on screen are actually experiencing the danger and excitement they're portraying. When everything is fake, nothing feels meaningful. The next time you're watching some CGI heavy action movie where cars fly through the air like they're powered by fairy dust, remember what real automotive cinema looked like. Remember when directors had vision instead of algorithms, when stuntmen had skills instead of safety coordinators, and when cars had character instead of computer graphics. The golden age of car chases is over, and it's never coming back. But at least we have the films to remind us what movies looked like when they were made by people who understood that great art requires great courage, and occasionally, great stupidity. What's your favorite 70s car chase? Drop it in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, and remember, they don't make them like they used to, and they never will again.